Hello, everyone. I am Barry Morgan.
And I am Andy Majorano.
And welcome to the very first episode of the Horror Geekcast. Just to give you guys a little background on the show, last year, when was that? It was June.
It was like a year ago, yeah.
Shot a pilot. Can't believe it was a year ago.
Believe it, 13 months.
You look a lot older.
Yeah, I feel a lot older, like 13 months.
I look a lot younger, I think. Anyway, we did a pilot that I created called The Horror Geeks. It's a show that celebrates the horror genre. We think that horror fans will really love it. Andy?
For horror fans, by horror fans.
Should we just show them the trailer?
Let's show them the trailer.
And welcome to Horror Geeks, the show for horror fans, by horror fans.
I discovered that watching horror movies really helped me masturbate. Is that weird?
What better way to kick off the series than to celebrate Friday the 13th, one of the greatest franchises in horror movie history.
Wait, no, I liked the remake.
I like the remake too. I mean, the way they kind of reinvigorated Jason and made him more human.
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of brilliant.
He wasn't human at all. He just had a sack over his head again.
For me, it's the original. That last scene where Jason comes out of the lake.
Today has to be one of the most exciting days of my entire life. I mean, who doesn't want to get dressed up like an old woman and get their head cut off?
In honor of Friday the 13th, I've decided to take the whole team camping, and everybody's really excited.
I created the show to celebrate horror and to try to make horror fun again. That's really one of the things that I feel like in sort of our contemporary state of horror is lost. Like, people are so over analytical and over critical, and I just want to do things fun. Because, I mean, maybe I'm aging myself here, but I'm the child of the 80s. And when I was growing up, maybe it's because I was
The
a kid.
80s?
The 80s, oh my God. Horror.
Should we get him like a life alert just to wear during the show?
Maybe.
Just in case anything.
Hey, you're not that much younger than I am.
I know, I'm not.
So for the last year, or I guess I finished up the post on it last fall, but since then we've been trying to sell the show because we would love to be able to take it to series, because we really honestly truly think it's something that horror fans will really enjoy. It's fun, it's comedic, it's bloody, it's something unlike anything else that's out there right now. But in Hollywood, go figure, it's kind of hard to get a show.
Should we show him the clips of us trying to hustle the show out there?
We should. So a couple weeks ago, Andy and I went on a little mission, and here's how it went.
Hello, Netflix? My name's Barry Morgan. I was wondering if maybe I could get a meeting. I created a show called the Horror Geeks. We'd like to think of it as a show celebrating the horror genre.
Barry, security's on its way. We gotta get out of here now.
So we really need a manager to crack this Hollywood game and get us into meetings. 5 minutes. 5 minutes, that's all I need. I just want to tell you about my show, The Horror Geeks. It's for horror fans, by horror fans. I know everybody's gonna love it. Stop ignoring me. I can see you in there eating your ramen noodles.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's gonna happen, Larry. It's gonna happen. I swear to you. We're gonna get a management company on board here. Barry, it's the management thing again, man.
No, you don't understand. I already have the contact info from Netflix, Hulu, Amazon. I just need someone who's not me to contact them.
Larry? Larry Stiller? Yeah, hi. This is Chuck Lance. We're representing the Horror Geeks show, and Larry, this is not Andy Majorano. This is Charles Lance. Okay, Larry.
So as you can see, not exactly an easy mission to get a show picked up in Hollywood land. But while we're waiting for the bigwigs to write us a check and say yes, Barry and I thought we could do a little kind of video cast, which we're calling the Horror Geekcast.
Such an original title.
Exactly.
Who came up with it? Right.
It's good. And Barry's living room is the set. So here we are. Nice living room. It's great.
It's okay. It's my own little slice of heaven or hell.
No matter where you go or what you do or who you kill, I'll love you till the day I die.
So for our first Horror Geekcast, we decided to stick with the franchise theme, but since we did Friday the 13th for the pilot, we decided to do Nightmare on Elm Street for this.
From Wes Craven, director of The Hills Have Eyes and Last House on the Left, a new masterpiece in fantasy terror, Nightmare on Elm Street.
I don't know, if you were killing someone with knives on your fingers, would you have the knives on your strong hand or your weak hand?
I guess I would go for the weaker hand because, the knives kind of pick up some of the slack.
Yes! Somebody! Told ya! Comic books was bad for ya!
Now, Nightmare on Elm Street was created, directed, and written by Wes Craven.
I had a copy of Nightmare on Elm Street thanks to my older cousin who lived in my area, and we were on the bus together going to school, and she was like, here, check this out. And I wasn't allowed to rent movies at that age for good reason because I couldn't sleep.
And you looked up, was Freddy driving the bus? So Wes gave us one of the boogeymen of modern horror, in my opinion, the other two being Jason from Friday the 13th and Michael Myers from the Halloween series. I mean, I know when I was growing up, those three guys, I mean, they were my childhood version of the boogeyman.
What's great about Nightmare is that the dream stuff, and I think that kind of took it to a different level, a new angle. So it's like you're gonna have another boogeyman, you hopefully want to have another serial situation where you have multiple films franchising, which Halloween was already doing and Friday the 13th was already doing. So come 84, there was already 4 Fridays or 3 Fridays at the time, probably when they started shooting it.
So 1984 was when Part 4 came out, and then Nightmare was 1984. Now, you bring up something interesting, and I was just thinking about this the other night. For me, when I was a kid growing up in the 1980s, basically starting in 1984, there was either a Friday the 13th or a Nightmare on Elm Street out every year, and a lot of those years both came out during the same year. And then toss in the Halloween franchise, 1988 and 1989. So those years were just the glory days. I mean, it was something, when I was a kid, I could look forward to Little League Baseball and Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th every summer. So speaking of the boogeyman, do you believe in the boogeyman?
I do believe in the boogeyman. I believe that there's lots of boogeymans.
Yeah, well, it is something that is universal as far as
you got the
cultures.
IRS, the dentist is a boogeyman.
The dentist. I just went to the dentist the other day.
It's always looming, and then they call you like, "Oh, you're overdue for your appointment. You missed it."
Have you ever seen the horror movie The Dentist, starring Corbin Burnson of L.A. Law fame?
No.
Oh, dude.
I think that'd be too scary.
You got to check it out. They actually did a sequel as well.
They had to go back for like a molar implant or something.
Open wide.
Andy believes in boogeyman. I don't. So why don't you explain why you believe in the boogeyman?
I mean, I guess I believe more in the sense of, if you pay attention to something or you give something power, then you give it strength. And I think that taps right into Nightmare on Elm Street. He exists in this kind of ethereal landscape, in the dream landscape, always trying to get into our world, but that's not really his domain anymore since he was killed. He went into the dream world. But I am the idea of the boogeyman is more of this kind of like ethereal idea for me. Not like a singular guy that walks around and kills people at night.
This is a segment where we celebrate what we think is an amazing thing, and they are not paying us at all to say this. Maybe someday they will.
They didn't pay you?
No, we didn't get paid. I'm just doing this to promote horror.
I got this fat check.
Andy got paid.
Meet golden, delicious gold.
So we are going to talk every week a little bit.
I'll give some to Barry, don't worry.
Okay, maybe a couple bucks. About things that are on the website Shudder, shudder.com. For any of you who don't know what Shudder is, it's basically Netflix for horror. And most horror fans always complain about there's no good horror on Netflix or on Hulu or on Amazon, but Shudder is
a home, a haven.
Is a home and a haven
where horror movies can nestle in.
And a hellmouth.
Nice.
And a hotel.
An agape hellmouth? Or is it agape?
See, weird things happen on a hellmouth. It attracts all sorts of bad people and demons and vampires.
They have picked up a lot of foreign stuff that's really hard to find anywhere else.
Right.
And anyone who's a big fan of 70s Euro trash, like moi, there's a lot of it on Shudder. The Exotic Rites of Frankenstein, She Killed in Ecstasy, The Nude Vampire. I know Andy likes that one.
That's my favorite.
Female vampires, because male vampires, that's just no fun, right?
And we've had that, Tom Cruise, Lestat.
Oh,
it's time to let the girls take over for a little while.
If you ever mention Tom Cruise again, I don't know what I'm going to do, but you're not going to like it.
I'm not going to be invited back for episode 2.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
So, I heard a rumor that there's a video floating around of you, Barry, recreating the dance from the second film.
This is Jesse from A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge, released in the great year of 1985.
I love when horror movies are set in the Midwest. Maybe it's because I'm from the Midwest. But I think that there's really something psychological going on where, like, we tend to think that the big cities are scary and the Midwest, the heartland, is, like, safe. So I
never thought that. I'm always terrified when I'm out there. It's, like, so much space. I'm like, even if something were to happen, I mean, no one's around.
Yeah,
even AAA would take, like, 2 hours probably.
Where do you go?
Yeah, I go to everywhere.
No. Where do you go when something happens when you're in the Midwest?
I thought you meant like
I'm trying to support your point.
I hate the Midwest. People from there. All of them. I'm kidding.
So,
You're okay.
Part 1, we know part 1. Like, everybody knows part 1.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
No! Now let's move on to...
Don't you just mean one? Right,
everybody knows Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay, let's move on to part 2, Freddy's Revenge, which a lot of people dog on. And
including us.
But the one thing that I wanted to say that I really do take issue with is that when I hear a lot of people's criticism of part 2, they say, oh, it's gay. Well, does that define it as a bad movie? Like, what does that say when you say, oh, it's gay? That doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It's a bad movie because it's a bad movie.
You are all my children now.
He could still go into people's dreams, but then he was trying to possess the main guy, but it's like he could still go into their dreams to kill him. And then there were so many scenes where I felt like he was attacking a lot of people, like the pool scene, the party towards the end, where beer bottles were popping open and things were happening like supernaturally, as if everybody was just like having a collective shared dream and they were in his world, but they weren't. But was that because he was possessing the guy and he was kind of in the real world? I just kind of felt myself being like, what are the rules here? And the more I thought about the rules, and it just took the fun and the horror away from it for me.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's use that to lead into part 3. And what you're saying, I totally agree with, and I think it makes kind of sense. I mean, part 1 was 1984. That was obviously a huge hit. Part 2 came out in 1985. Now, Wes Craven had nothing to do with it, so it was probably rushed. They maybe didn't know like what the whole Freddy lore was. But then they brought him back as a co-writer for part 3. And I feel like what he did in part 3 sort of laid out parts 3, 4, and 5, which I really see as its own trilogy within the franchise of the film. Now, part 3, subtitled Dream Warriors, takes place in a mental hospital called Weston Hills, which we then see reappear in the Freddy vs. Jason movie. It's good, and it has a Dokken music video associated with it.
It definitely felt like it got back to more of the roots of Freddy for me than 2. And I felt like the parameters of his powers and the dream world were clear. And I really like the whole idea of like these multiple characters that could kind of get inside of each other's dreams and have like this collective dream. And there's a lot of mythology about collective dreaming and in Native American culture and a lot of lore in the real world, quote unquote, about the dream world. So I just thought the whole idea was really cool about a collective group of people that could, get inside of each other's dreams and help each other out to battle.
Actually, I didn't think about this until I rewatched the movie a couple nights ago. I think there's a finite point in part 3 that you can point to and say, okay, this is where the franchise pivoted and Freddy became what we know of him as. And that's when he becomes the TV and picks up the girl.
This is it, Shudder. Your big breaking TV. Welcome to prime time, bitch.
I think some sequels actually do manage to continue the lore in a positive direction and keep building off this character in a fun new way.
Yeah.
And I feel like 3 really knocked it out of the park in that regard.
It does. Now moving on, part 4 actually continues, like we said, and I really do think it's true. I think 3, 4, and 5 are sort of its own trilogy. But part 4 continues part of the Kristen storyline.
Right.
She actually gets killed halfway through. And then something that is hardly done in horror movies, and definitely not successfully, the middle of part 4, a new heroine sort of takes over and then continues the story and then goes into part 5. But that's the story of Alice.
A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 4. The Dream Master.
Now going into part 5, we continue with the Alice storyline. She becomes pregnant. She has a little baby. Freddy tries to be reborn through the baby.
Get the creepy baby.
Now, part 5 has got a lot of one-liners.
Hey, Danny, better not dream and drive.
That's a really bad one-liner, but it doesn't get any worse than part 6, Freddy's Dead.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little soul, too.
But there is one pretty cool scene in the movie. It's done with sound design. One of the main characters has a hearing impediment. So when he's in the dream and Freddy's attacking him, they do some really cool things with either stripping sound completely out and then enhancing the sound, because Freddy basically makes his eardrums explode.
Wait, wouldn't you still have sound when you dream? Or would you still be limited?
Did John Bobbitt dream of having his penis before it was attached? Reattached?
If you had a wet dream, I'd like to think. Not a Freddy wet dream where you're in water and then they make the one-liner.
Yes.
How's this for a wet dream?
The absurdity of the series, I feel like, led to New Nightmare, which is my second favorite in the series. It's really most Nightmare on Elm Street fans' second favorite in the series. So in New Nightmare, it sort of takes place in the real world. Like Heather Langenkamp plays Heather Langenkamp. Robert Englund plays Robert Englund. Wes Craven plays Wes Craven.
What happens when the story dies? The evil is set free. Now that the films have ended, The genie's out of the bottle.
Good evening. I'm Chase Conroy. After one of the longest and most expensive trials in the state's history, Jason Voorhees has been acquitted of all charges of murder. In a statement, Voorhees said, However, Voorhees' attorney did say the following: "We have always maintained that Mr. Voorhees was framed, and while justice was served today, we must remember that a mass murderer is still on the loose." I have with me now Mr. Voorhees' mother, Pamela Voorhees. Would you care to comment on this matter, ma'am?
My son Jason would never do something like this, and I accuse you, sir, and the Hollywood elite media of portraying him as a killer and trying him in public.
To be fair, Mrs. Voorhees, I'm from Dubuque, Iowa. I'm not from Hollywood.
Dubuque, where all the fat cats live. Dubuque. I see you are part of the elite. Dubuque and Hollywood.
I'm getting some breaking news right now. Yes. Channel 13 has confirmed that after being freed on murder charges, Jason Voorhees has in fact decapitated his defense lawyer and has fled on foot into the wilderness of the north side of Horrortown.
Fake news, I tell you. My son would never do anything of the sort.
We're not fake news. This is Horrortown USA's primetime Channel 13 network show.
You should have been watching him. He wasn't a very good swimmer.
Wes, I thought you said we weren't going to put me in these situations anymore. I feel very uncomfortable, and I don't know how to react to this. None of this is scripted. This is not on paper. I'm feeling...
I'm out of here!
Thank you for tuning in once again. Again, I'm Chase Conroy. Please have a pleasant night full of nightmares and horrible, horrible dreams.
And now, the top 10.
This is such a treat. With us is Mr. Jose Prendez, who is a co-host of the Horror Geeks, along with Andy.
Yes.
Jose, how's it going?
Great. I'm happy to be here, having fun with you on the Geekcast, and I believe we're going to talk disfigured killers, yes?
We are. I kind of figured since we're doing Nightmare on Elm Street as the topic of this episode, Freddy's a really famous disfigured killer, but there's lots of other great disfigured killers out there.
Absolutely.
And you have a top 10 list.
I do. And number 10 is Freddy.
Number 10, Freddy.
I mean, he's obvious. He's the most famous disfigured killer. But I feel, let's start with Freddy, and then let's work our way down and find some more obscure ones.
All right.
Maniac Cop.
Ooh, little
Maniac
Bruce
Cop.
Campbell.
Yeah, well, he's not the Maniac Cop, but yes.
Correct.
Robert Z'Dar. But Bruce Campbell gets to be the hero in the first one, and then sadly slaughtered in the sequel for some reason. I don't know why they did that, but...
Maybe he wanted too much money.
Maybe that's what it was, yeah. Maniac Cop's got a great kind of the skull kind of face, and I love it. Now, 8's one of your favorites.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Are you ready? Jason?
Jason
Voorhees.
All right.
Jason Voorhees. Because, even though he's had different, he's got a mask on, but he's had different sort of looks, throughout the series. There was the one that he was kind of a mongoloid face, and then he was a zombie, and then he was a robot. There's been a lot of iterations of Jason. I feel he's, you can't really pin him down as to what he looks like deformed, but he is a deformed killer, so he belongs on this list.
He does, absolutely.
Absolutely. Number 7 is the Funhouse Killer. Now, he doesn't have a name, per se. He's just the monster. But if you've seen the movie, spoilers, I don't know if you want to throw up a spoilers thing here, it doesn't matter. When he takes his Frankenstein mask off, he's an alien. I mean, he's an alien.
He does look like an alien.
He's not a guy.
He's got red eyes.
He's a monster with an alien. He's like Predator. So I thought that was amazing, that a movie could pull that off. Number 6, he's one of my favorites, Chucky. Chucky, see?
Chucky!
I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, now obviously he starts off like a cute little doll, but he gets messed up as he goes along.
Are you looking forward to Cult of Chucky?
I am looking forward to it. I don't love the way he looks. I feel they sort of mess with the puppetry a little bit too much.
These are the times we live in.
But as long as he's not CG, and I know they use CG in the last one. As long as he's not too much CG and the story's good, I'm in. Phantom of the Opera.
Ooh.
This is the original Phantom of the Opera, and I'm going to get the date right here because I'm terrible with dates. 1925, of course, Lon Chaney. Everyone knows that iconic face. Number 4, I think you'll enjoy this one, Cropsy.
Cropsy.
You're a Burning fan?
Oh yeah, I think Jason Alexander from Seinfeld's first movie appearance.
Got a good cast.
I love the Burning.
Cropsy's great. Got an amazing kind of a Freddy-ish burn kind of makeup. Really kind of cool look.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic slasher movie. Dr. Phibes. Vincent Price is Dr. Phibes in The Abominable Dr. Phibes.
I love that
Great
movie
skull
so much.
face. And then of course you don't see that till the end, so you don't reveal that he's this kind of living corpse. How amazing! How amazing is that?
He's got a super hot nurse with him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Number 2, the original Frankenstein, 1931, Boris Karloff. Such an iconic makeup. Technically, he's not a killer, but he did kill that little girl. He did try to go after Henry. Is it Henry in the first one?
I think
it's Henry, because I always thought it was Victor, but it's the other one. So it's Henry. Personal favorite. I'm a big Cronenberg guy. Seth Brundle as Brundlefly in The Fly.
Nice.
Jeff Goldblum's probably most iconic role until Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Amazing makeup. I don't know what else to say. You just throw up a picture and that's why it wins. And different iterations of the flyness of him. It's amazing, and it's all him. He's so great. Absolutely, I think that is number 1 spot. What do you think?
I'm just gonna defer to you on this, Jose. I think you are the deformed killer expert.
If you can give me some kind of merit badge for that, I will gladly sew it on. And that would be an honor to have that.
No, I'm not gonna give you Sam.
Yeah, you will.
Wow, we are at the end of our first episode.
This is crazy.
Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. It was
Seriously.
so much fun spending time with you guys, talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, sort of getting to know Andy's fears a little bit.
Some of them. Just a small
twinge.
Just a little
Tinge?
Twinge?
Is it tinge or twinge?
Hint.
But anyway, thanks so much, you guys. We really, really appreciate